Hi guys, this is a lesson for NCSSM's Vertical Theory number 6. This is a supplement to the video that's already up there, but I think this is going to clarify the process just a little bit and maybe be a little bit more specific. So I hope this is very helpful. In this lesson, our goal is to learn how to harmonize a melody that is a diatonic melody. That's one that sits right within the major scale, and we'll use only the primary triads to harmonize that melody. So that's our goal here for today. So let's take a look at the exercise. This is on your worksheet for Vertical Theory number 6. The tune that we have here is essentially Hot Cross Buns, and it's in the key of G major. So you'll notice, first of all, the very first thing we want to do is take a look at the key signature and figure out what key we're in. Our first note is a B, which is in the G triad, G, B, D, and our last note of the tune is a G, so we're probably in the key of G major. We're not in E minor here. So we'll go ahead and make a note. We're in G major. So the primary triads in the key of G major are the triads based on the first step of the scale, based on the fourth step of the scale, and the fifth step of the scale. I'm going to move over here and I'll just point out to you, I've already notated those triads. The triad based on the first step of the scale, the 1 triad, is GBD. On the fourth step of the scale, the 4 chord is major chord, C, E, G. And on the fifth step of the chord, our 5 chord is D, F sharp, A. And if I wanted to make that 5 chord a 5-7 chord, I would simply add another third over the second third. So it would be D, F sharp, A, C natural. And that would be our 5-7 chord. So those are our primary triads, 1, 4, and 5, or 5-7. Okay? So let's go back. And, before we go back, I do want to point out to you that every single step of the major scale is represented in these 3 triads. First step of the scale is G. A is found on the 5 chord. B is found in the 1 chord. C is found in the 4 chord. D is found in 2 chords, the 1 chord and the 5 chord. E is found in the 4 chord. F sharp is found in the 5 chord. And then, of course, G can be found in both the 1 and the 4 chord. Okay, so we've got every single step of the major scale represented in 1 or 2 of the triads. And that's going to be important as we harmonize this melody. Okay, let's go back. Now, we're going to look at the melody. First step of the melody is a B. B is found in the G triad, and it's also in the 1 chord, so it's likely that our melody is going to begin on a 1 chord. And in fact, that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to write the Roman numeral here to start. So we're going to put a 1 underneath the first step of the scale, the first step of the melody. The second chord has an A, and if we go to our 3 triads, we're going to find that an A is found in, come on back over here, go to our 5 chord, the A is found in the 5 chord. So we're going to harmonize that second step of the melody with a 5 chord. Come back over, that's a 5. Third step is a G. I'm going to bet that's going to be a 1. It's found in the 1 triad. We're going to move on. The second measure is exactly the same as the first measure. We'll harmonize it the same way. 1, 5, 1. The next measure starts with a D. Now here we have a choice to make, because if we come back over here to our chords, we're going to see that a D is found in a 1 chord and a D is found in the 5 chord. So we can harmonize it, frankly, with either a 1 or a 5. Now, the best way to decide is to listen to it. To go to a piano, go to a guitar, and decide which one you like better. I've done that, and I like the way the 1 sounds. We're going to keep coming back to the 1. So we're going to harmonize that with a 1 chord. So let's move over here. So that's going to be a 1 chord on the D. C is found in the 4 chord, so it will be a 4. And a B is found in the 1 chord only, so it will be a 1. Now we're going to move to the next measure. The first three notes are exactly the same as these three notes. 1, 4, 1. Then at the end of that measure we have an A, and you'll see over here we harmonize the A with the only chord that contains an A, the 5 chord. And then we'll end, obviously, on the 1. Now, I'm going to move to a piano, and I'm just going to play this for you, and we'll take a look at this melody, and I'll play the chords as we have them written. The melody without the harmonization is... Now, the harmonization as I wrote it is 1, 5, 1. 1, 5, 1. 1, 4, 1. 1, 4, 1, 5. Now, I did tell you that there is a possibility that on the third measure we could use a 5 chord to start. Let me play that with a 5 chord at the beginning of the third measure. We'll see if you like it better. Here's the beginning of the tune. Now I have to say, I don't like that as much as I like the way we harmonized it with a 1 chord at the beginning of the measure. So I'm going to leave that 1 chord there. So now we have our Roman numerals, but how would we write the accompaniment? Now if you've been learning piano in classical piano and guitar class, you know that you've got essentially 3 left-hand chord shapes that you've been learning. Guitar players are learning to strum chords, so it's a little bit different. We'll look at both of these in terms of creating an accompaniment. Now, let's look at the piano accompaniment first. Come on over here, and if we are learning to play a song in the key of G, we've got our 3 chord shapes that we've learned in the left hand. We're in bass clef here. Here's our root triad. That's our 1 chord, G, B, D. And that's our 1 triad in the key of G. Now, if we've been playing a 4 chord up till now as a piano player, we've been using the 6-4 inversion, and that in fact is what I'd recommend that you use for a 4 chord here, because it'll look and feel right for you as a piano player. It'll feel right under your fingers. And then this chord is the 5-7 chord that piano players have been playing since you started really at the beginning of the term. Now you're going to notice that our tonic note, this is a D, F sharp, A, C is the triad. There's your D, there's your F sharp. You're going to notice that the A is sort of left out in this version, and then there's a C. So this essentially is what you will write for a 5-7 chord in the harmonies. So these are our triads. Let's come back over here and we'll write them out. So over here, I'm going to come to this side. Over here, for our 1 chord, we would simply write G, B, D, boom, quarter note. 5 chord, D, C, F sharp, boom. 1 chord, G, B, D. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a half note. G, B, D. The rhythms matter. Okay? Going on. G, B, D. 1, 5. D, C, F sharp. Boom. 1. G, half note. G, B, D. Boom. Okay? And then we go through and fill in our harmonies the whole way. I will say that when we get to the 4 chord, just so we make it very clear, there's our G, B, D, 1 chord. Here's our 4, G, C, E. There's our 4 chord, and then another half note, G, B, D, boom. And we would follow through the whole way through to finish up our harmony. And then you'll be able to play this on the piano. As a piano player, you'll be able to play the harmonies that you wrote. If we're a guitar player, it's even a little bit simpler, because we could come to this and say, well, what's the name of the one chord? Well, we know that it's a G, so your G chord will work here. What's the name of the 4 chord? C, E, G, it's a C major chord. And what's the name of the 5 chord? D, F sharp, A, it's a D major chord, or a D7 if we want to use the 7 chord. So we can come back to this, and where it's a 1, we'll play a G triad. Where it's a 5, we'll play a D triad. So G, D, G, G, D, G, G, C, G, G, C, G, D, G. And these are the chords that you could play along with that same melody. This is where your performance, what you're learning to do on your instrument, should intersect with your music theory that you're learning. And you ought to be able to begin to see how these two things connect so very, very strongly. Now, I want to make one last point. In the other video that I recorded, I think I gave you a little bit of a simpler harmonization for this, and I just want to point out the difference. In this harmonization, we harmonized every single note of the melody. In the harmonization that I gave you on the other video, we sort of took this A and we said, okay, that A isn't really a chord tone. It's more of what we would call a passing tone. And so for this whole measure, rather than playing a 1, a 5, and a 1, we just played a 1 chord through that whole measure. Now that's perfectly fine. You can do that, but it sort of simplifies the harmony. And in this case, I think the more involved harmony really makes more sense. I'm going to play a harmony where I just give you, in fact, if we really look at these, a G and a B in this measure could give us a 1 chord. A G and a B in this measure with a passing tone A could give us a 1. A D and a B with a passing tone C could give us a 1. This one could be the first 2 notes with a 1, the second 2 notes with a 5, and then a 1 to end. And what it ends up being is a fairly vanilla, non-involved harmony. Let me play both versions for you so you can hear the difference. So again, if we keep the camera on the melody, this is the very basic harmonization. With just basically 1 chord per measure. Now, 1 chord for every note of the melody. For now, for this exercise, I really think harmonizing each note of the melody to really drive home the diatonic nature of the melody and the way primary chords intersect with that diatonic melody is really, really important. So here are the big things. If you have a melody that uses only the scale of the key, the scale of the key that you're in without any accidentals, it can always be harmonized with primary chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5. We can go more complex later, but for now, let's really lock in those primary chords. I hope this helps, and good luck as you do assignment vertical 6.